I am betting that we share one experience from our upbringing, and that is to be told to watch your language, usually as a response to a discourteous or rude comment that we might have made to our parents or someone else in authority. It's a reminder, isn't it, that language is extremely powerful for all of the good that we can do with our language to educate, to inform, to inspire, to uplift, to show affection, to show respect. For all of those good uses of our language, we also have the capacity to be rude and crude and lewd, to be overtly disrespectful and controlling, and even to be cruel with our use of language. So it's a very powerful tool that we have as human beings. It's a common currency. It's like a road. It connects us to others and to places and to ideas. And we don't have the sole ownership of that road. We have the opportunity to share it, though, and that's what language does for us. So I become leery and critical of those who would want to usurp language, not as a conveyor of ideas, but to take its very conventions and rules and alter them for an agenda of their own. Gender extremists are very good at this, and they're winning the war right now by redefining words to mean, in many cases, the very opposite of what they mean. Gender terms, sex terms, male, female, man, woman, by suggesting that they mean the opposite, is to violate the conventions of the English language. Pronouns misused in the same way. If we're going to have a debate about what people want to identify with, I suppose we need to come up with some new words to satisfy that interest. But certainly, we have to be very leery about taking existing words that have very specific meanings that are particularly important in medicine and biology, and also in social discourse, and expecting that we can just arbitrarily change their meanings to satisfy someone's desires. That to me is a misuse of language. We also have perhaps an exaggerated sense of sensitivity with respect to phrases that admittedly have become outdated or archaic. Recently, a broadcast journalist in St. Louis, a United States Midwest city, uh, here in late winter 2024, uh, claims he misspoke on the air, on television, and talked about colored people when he meant to say people of color. Now, if you're from the United States, you know what that distinction is. If you're from outside the country, you may not be as sure. In this much of the 20th century, the term colored people or Negro were acceptable and considered polite ways of referring to racial minorities of African American descent in the United States. Over time, those phrases became dated and gradually fell out of favor, but really were never intended to be insulting, even when misused in the contemporary sense. People of color is much more acceptable than colored people in the 21st century American culture. Black is also considered generally correct and advisable, or African American for those who were born and are Americans but are of African descent. These are okay phrases to use. Colored people has fallen out of favor as archaic. And yet, this poor guy, I feel sorry for him. He felt bad about it, so he said, and I never met him, but I believe him that it simply slipped out. Here I am speaking contemporaneously to you or spontaneously, and I'm subject to making some verbal slips of my own. But this is not a live broadcast, and if I decide to, I can redo it and try to avoid making the same mistake twice. You say it on live television, you don't have that choice. My point in bringing this up is for us to realize that there are those out there who are waiting to pounce on anything they see as an opportunity to drive home their point of view. This is not using language to persuade or to debate. This is using language to shame and make people defensive unnecessarily, simply for not agreeing with them. Or in this case, this guy may very well have agreed with them, but simply made a mistake. But it gives them the opportunity to continue, them being the critics of the status quo, to use any opportunity that they can seize as an example of their own biases and impatience with people who are doing their best to get along. We need to use language as a tool of persuasion, as a tool of positive change in society, not as a weapon against others who we think disagree with them, with us fundamentally. Use language for its intended purpose to influence and change, but also to do so in a respectful way, not as a weapon. Thanks.